This is part 2 of making a t-shirt smaller without taking it apart. After you've marked all the markings for your new seams on the inside, then you want to do a basting seam. Now I do it that way because it gives me a good idea of what it's going to look like when it's really actually finished. So on the inside, you have your seams pinned, you've got your lines marked. You do a long stitch, long straight stitch, hand stitch it, and you don't need to go down the whole shirt. You just go about 4 or 5 inches below the armpit, and you hand stitch it up. You grab in your sleeve part, and you do the same thing. You go all the way along your line and over the top of the shoulder. Now, when you're matching up to make your new seam line, the sleeve has a finished edge. That finished edge is what you, by feel, match to this drawn line for the new seam, which would be your cutting line, ultimately.
Number one, you can't change.
So when you're matching this up, you have to feel for the top ridge that it matches that pink, well mine's pink, that new stitching line. When you stitch it for the stay stitching or the basting stitch by machine, this is your guide. All you do is you stitch below the edge, that 1/4 inch, all the way around. Now I will do the arm of the sleeve first. Then I'll put it right side out, take a look at it, make sure it's laying nice and flat. Then I'll go back and do the underarm to all the way down the trunk part. That's what we're going to do. So in order to make sure that you're going to be stitching on your new seam line, you need to have it lined up with the original seam on the other side. So I'm going to start at the armhole, go all the way up around the shoulder, back down to the armhole, or underarm, and then I'm going to check it. Take the pins out and check it. The hand stay stitches, those big running stitches, those help to make sure it doesn't slide around on you. So let me find my underarm spot. Begin there. And
boy, man, there's some real winners out there in this world.
Yeah, like that. Lock it in. Pardon me. Now. I always use my fingers to feel underneath, make sure it's still nice and smooth under there, because it can shimmy on you. I've done it before, especially when you got a pin that gets in the way. I hate taking something all the way apart to redo it.
You know, John and Nikki asked me, where did you get those pizza? You know, pizza?
Yep, he's a pizza lover.
I went to Kroger and chose their 4 different pizzas.
And we doctor up our pizzas after we hit them with all kinds of goodies. Alright, now I've got a pin that's making it do this little funny thing on the other side. So I'm going to move that pin out.
Check it out.
And then like this.
You will thank me later.
I came up with this method as a way of making it a little bit easier to make alterations for not just other people, but for myself. And the underarm is right there, so we're almost to there. smooth out. And lock off at the end. They're loose enough stitches that it's not going to be hard to take them out if it doesn't lay right. Okay, there they are. I've already done the other side. I know a lot of people take it all the way apart, put it all back together, and it's a lot of wasted time that I can't afford with the amount of different projects I got going on. So I had to come up with something a little bit faster. And I thought, worst case scenario, I have to take it apart. Best case scenario, it works, and I've saved myself half the time.
Pizza's so great, it'll make you lick your plate.
Okay, make sure I got all the pins. Well, except that's for the underarm.
I like the phrase at the top of the box.
Take around. That's how I find them. But also how I stick myself.
So great.
Like that.
It'll make you lick the plate.
Like that. Then of course I'll have to take the big stitches out. Especially right by the armhole. I mean, you can lay them in there if you want, but I'm taking them out. Because I have the drawn line, I really don't need them, but it's a good idea to keep the fabric laying the way it should.
This pizza was legendary.
Now, before I turn that right side out, I'm going to go ahead and do the neckline. And when we measured it as to how much, because it had to be made an inch smaller, so that means a ½ inch in the front, ½ inch in the back. So I'm going to go ½ inch down to the inside of the top of the shoulder.
Double back around, stop and buy vegan pizza.
Just to make sure it lays flat under there. And I'm using the 4/8 mark on my needle plate as my guide for the ½ inch.
Ooh, this is terrific stuff.
Literally go right up to the stitching for the top of the arm of the sleeve.
I immediately was asked to go back up the same road to go pick up a customer.
I'm going to turn right side out, see what we got. And if all is good, we can do the finishing touches.
North of this location.
Well, let's see what we got. Well, that dumb thing needs to come out. That's the stay stitching stitch.
I asked a couple if they've eaten it before, and they said no, but they were considering on going soon. So while I was driving through the subdivision,
okay, I do see something in my stitching that
exited the car,
in one spot here, I kind of veered off the bottom part of the old stitching. So I'm just going to go back over it. But other than that, this looks really good. So take care of that. And I'm going to mark it where it starts. Here. Where are my pins? I just had them. Oh, they're under the shirt. So I'm going to mark it right. I need to start there.
There you go.
I'll see it on the other side.
Hey, pretty boy.
From there to, I don't want any puckers or anything like that. And it goes up to the, right about there. Okay. So let me go ahead and redo that little bit of seam. Now look on the other side and see what I did. Oh yeah, I went up into it instead of just below it. That's what I did. It happens when you're trying to not get it to be, you know, kind of off. To go below it. Alright. Because that overcast stitching from the underside, you don't want to see that. And that's the goal. So not see that. Have a covering all my stuff up. It also allows me to see any accidental puckers that aren't really visible until you actually get into it. There we go. That's much better. You can already tell. You can feel the ridge. You go by a lot by touch. You can see those ridges. You know, have to be under them. It also double reinforces this. I never thought of it that way. It's not a bad thing. That should fix it. So it'll be a more smooth seam than a seam with a ridge in the middle of it. Let's see. I'll look at it again. Just a couple little areas. Need to be right under here. I think it slid on me in there. Yeah, it did. It kind of sort of did. So I can feel it. I can feel it like right there. So I'm going to take this slower. Make sure I can be below that. Now I could put pretty much I could put a zipper foot on here to alleviate that, which you can do with something like this. You're using a really tiny seam, really. I'm going to do this slower. Hopefully third time's a charm. Yeah. Let's just stab myself. Oh, I got caught on back there. Oh, I see. Get out of there. There you go. Yeah, the thread gets stuck on there. It makes that little bump in there encapsulated, which is a good thing. There. And down to the bottom. Oh yeah, that's it. That's the one. I want to press this out. It'll press out pretty good. I always press them out even though they are a t-shirt because it just makes the stitching behave. And of course, when you trim the inside seam away, the extra fabric that we pulled up on, it'll also help it to lay flatter. Now that's the top of the arm. And it's a nice smooth seam. I don't know if you can see right there. Nice, smooth, and flat. I've stitched the neck seam, but I'm going to do it one more time just to secure it. That 1/2 inch across. I'm not going to worry about the shoulder. The shoulder's good. And just the neck is kind of some stress spot. It's always good to reinforce stress spots on your clothing. Makes them more durable. And on the other side, you can see I did. There's a pin in here somewhere. Where's that? Oh, there you are, you little hiding thing. It was stopping me from opening it up. And you can see the other side I've already done. It's got its new seam. It's stitched. I didn't stretch it out of shape. When I do the armhole or underarm part of the other sleeve and go all the way down the side now, at the juncture of the sleeve and the side seam, there's usually a little curve, and you can eyeball it or you can actually mark it. And you can get that from the original shirt, how deep of one it is. And this one, it's not too deep. It's just a slight curve, so it's a little bit easier. What that does is when you go to finish it off, there's not a big bulk under the underarm, and it allows it to bend and to move. So now we're going to go down the side seam from the arm or sleeve opening, where we have it marked, where we had come in that 3 inches. I think it's 3 1/4 inches, I think is what we talked about before. And do a slight curve when it reaches the sleeve seam meeting the side, the new side seam, where it's going to be. So put that right there. And go. When you're working with t-shirts, you don't want to pull, you don't want to put any pressure on the fabric. You want to let the machine do it all. And I kind of pivot it just a little bit for this curve, because it's not a big curve, but just enough. And always adjust your bulk fabric, otherwise it's going to pull it, and even if you're trying to sew straight, sometimes it messes you up and you end up making it crooked, and you have to go back and redo it, and we don't want to redo, we want to get this done in one shot. Now, depending on how particular you want a t-shirt to look, if you want the bottom hem to look like it is right now, before it's altered, then you would take about 3 inches of that hem out, stitch all the way down, flip it back up, and then restitch it. I don't think it's going to be necessary because in this case, because the seams are so narrow anyway, and he just wanted to make it. He just wants to fit. So and we didn't talk about taking the hem out. Okay, so this is basically a finished product in the sense of all the seams are done. It's just a matter of trimming away and then overcast stitching the raw edge. And I'm going to take all these pins out that I have in here. Yep. I'm going to leave the pins in the middle of the neckline, and I don't know why. I just have the same, like, that's the very last thing I'm going to do. Just take the center markings out. Silly as it sounds, I don't know why I do it that way. I just do. Here's the reveal. prior to overcast stitching, of course. There's the bulk of the trunk. There is sleeve number 1. And that's another reason why when you're doing stretch fabrics, you use the widest stitch that you've got. Now, I need to look at what I ended up with. Okay, I'm gonna move this machine out of the way for just a second so I can lay it flat. I always want to lay it flat because that's the way you can tell drape-wise if it's going to look that way. I've got my, oh, this is because of the extra material that's under there, isn't it? Yeah, I have to account for that. But all in all, this was a success. And I'll show you how I know it was. Come on, sleeve, turn out. Okay. I have the excess to trim out from the inside, that's why it's still kind of puckering. But, test is to take the original. That's why I take those pins out there, because they're still in this one. Kind of match them up. And then put a pin. I know this is obsessive maybe, but it gives me a comfort level. And if you need a comfort level, this is a good way to have it. Pin the top of the neck to the new shirt. And you can feel, is that neckline matching? Yeah, it's laying in the same spot. And then I'm going to take the shoulders over this way. And I'm going to pin those. Now, these sleeves were a little bit longer, and I didn't want to mess with those because he didn't say anything about the sleeves being shortened, and I figured that's basically what he wanted. He wanted them to stay the same, a little bit on the longer side, so it's more, could be dressed up instead of being so casual. And I'm going to look at my armpits, or the underarm. I know armpit sounds kind of gross. Ew. And the sleeves on the other shirt are only about an inch longer anyway, so it's not too over. So then I'm going to pin it right at below the arm, the underarm. And I think it's a little bit longer in the trunk. He didn't want it shortened. He just wanted it made smaller to fit him across the chest. I'm going to take this side, do the same thing. And pin that top of the shoulder and this armpit here. And then I'm going to hold it in a manner where from underarm to underarm, like this, and just shake it. And look at this. This is pretty cool. Do you see? The size is basically the same now. So this shirt is a little longer on the sleeves than in the trunk, but that wasn't the issue for him. He said it's way too big. I said I can tell. He's not a very big guy. So now I am comfortable with my work to do the finishing touches. So let's do that. And take out the checkpoint pins. I guess that's a good word for it. Out of here. I don't remember the actual name for the stitch. That is a type of overcast stitch on the sewing machine, other than I call it a stockinette. It's a stretch stitch that is used. My mother used to use it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when she would make little girls' dresses with smocking on the top. You know, it was a kind of thing that looked like it was gathered, and sometimes they were stretchy. I don't know if she actually made them a stretchy version, but I do remember her making things with that. Used to do it by hand with a grid with dots. It's nothing I would have tackled, not that much hand work. I mean, I like certain hand stitching, but not something that elaborate. I tried counter cross stitch. It and I just didn't mesh too well. Okay, is this the one I just did or no? No, that was the other one. So that one has one little spot that I missed when I went over it. All of this is fine till I get to right there. So this one needs another, I call it a ridge stitch. I missed the ridge. Oh yeah, I missed it, all right. It is not a bad thing to use your fingers. As a matter of fact, in this case, when you're creating a new seam, you almost have to. So I'm going to encapsulate that little ridge. You can almost see it as you're stitching. You can see that where it bulges up. See that? Yeah. And then I can see where it goes below it. Alright. That was the nerve-wracking part. Cutting. It is for me anyway. Shouldn't be. It always is. Always is. Now to help with the easing of the curves, I'm going to use my pinking shears on knit fabric. For some reason, it gives me that sense of, because if you know when you're easing curves, you do the little, I call it the pyramid cut or the TP cut, and that allows you to have the movement. So that's why I do it with the knits, and it gives me that same sense of accomplishment, I guess. And I'm just going to cut it away 1/4 inch away from my stitch line. And I'm taking my time because this is, I don't know why this is nerve-wracking to me, but I guess because it's been a while. When you haven't done something this intricate in a minute, that's a new method that you use for an old item. It's kind of, I think it can be kind of nerve-wracking. At least for me it would be. Now all these little pink markings in here from the fabric marking pen, they do come out with water. Easier with warm water. Cold water, it'll take it out. This takes a little longer, but if you use a little bit of warm water on it, it'll take it out. Trying to see, where's my stitch? There it is. And there, that's that one. And then I'm going to go down the side. No, under, the one under the sleeve and down the side. I should turn this the whole thing wrong side out. And then I can show you a comparison between how they both hang after the excess has been taken out. I love that it's a T-shirt stretchy fabric, because that's a forgiving fabric. Down this side. And I'm doing it from a sitting position because it's stuff that goes on with my back, and you don't need to hear about that, but this is just one of the facts that I'd love to sew it. Sometimes the positions aren't that great. You have issues with your neck and back. Yeah, you got to get up and down. And people think you're a bouncing ball. That's better than being in pain. There we go. almost there, almost there. Then I'll show you the settings that are needed for this. See, if this was a different kind of material that you were doing this with, the cotton weave or something like that, and you have the potential ability of it stretching on you. I mean, not stretching, fraying out, having fibers fraying. Then that's why you would use these. And I can't think that's why I always go to these, and plus these things cut like crazy. They cut in a curve. Most picking shears are pointed. These cut better than any of my pointed ones. One side is pointed, the other side is curved, so when it cuts it in a little mound kind of shape. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I'm going to attempt to show you. I don't know, can you see how it's like just rounded? It's not pointy, it's rounded. They're the best painting shears I don't even remember where I got them from, but I want another pair. Does anybody know where you get another pair? Because I like having one pair upstairs and one downstairs in the workroom. The finishing touch. Okay. On your machines, there is a stitch that has, it actually looks like a bunch of crisscrosses, and I use it as an overcast stitch. So I need to set my sewing machine to the number 4 direct stitch, and so 4 is this way. There's 4, and then I'm going to take this. Hold on. Oh wait, wrong. Now the width is the widest width. And on this machine, which is a Kenmore, 165 28,000. It is a width dial and length dial, and then there's the design dial. So I turned it to the design I want, and shows you a straight stitch version and then a stretch stitch version. So I turned it to stretch stitch on the length, and then the big widest width for that design. And the little red dot in the window goes right over to that, and so you know that's the decorative stitch or any stitch that you're going to do. If it's in the red, it's a straight stitch kind of version. So I'm going to do that on here, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's pretty nifty. I like it. I could do this on my serger, but my serger is, I normally have 3 sergers set up. Right now I have 1, and I don't like changing thread on those, so I have 3. That's a really nifty stitch. I'm almost done. I just get excited when I see it coming together. To the underarm, I guess kind of wiggle a little bit to pass that home. Locked it in place. probably do is I'll probably put this on my serger. Go ahead and change the color and put it on my serger to make it extra strength. I do silly stuff like that. That's just the way I do. And this is that Overcast type stitch. I call it stockinette. I don't know if that's the actual term for it, but it looks just like an overcast. So if you don't have a serger, you use this stitch. There's also one like this that's like double thick, like it double stitches it, and that's a really good one too. Yeah, there's one of them just like that. There's some really neat decorative ones though. One looks like leaves, but that's that side. Now I told you I was going to show you with a cutaway and then without a cutaway. So this is going to be the cutaway side on this side. It's going to be the cutaway side. You'll see the difference in the way it hangs out. And your sleeve. Oh. There you go. Now, here you go, open down again. Now, can you see the difference? This is how, I'm trying to get some light on this thing. Okay. No, go this way. Okay. Trying to get this. Okay, you can kind of see, hopefully, that over here, this side that's really in the light. See how that's hanging like nice and smooth under the arm? Let me show you. There. It's hanging nice and smooth. Whereas on the other side, because it still has that bulk under there, it's not hanging as well. You see the big kind of puckery look? See how it's kind of like puckered looking? Okay, I'm going to fix that by cutting that one away. Cutting away part always makes me nervous. I don't know why. Probably because I've had so many people say, don't cut anything away. And here someone tells me to cut it away. I go, oh, I don't want to do that. It scares me. Yeah, funny old lady being afraid of cutting off fabric. But I don't want anybody to be unhappy with my work, so I get a little funny. And to the pink and chios. Like this. Yeah, I think I will probably serge this. Just to have it look fancy. Yeah, it's a lot of lines that I measured, but that's my method. I had a woodshop teacher that said, measure twice, cut once. That goes with fabric too. Of course, for me, sometimes it's measure 3 times and cut once. Just because I know how material can slide around on you while you're trying to measure it, and you're like, wait a minute. And a thin knit like this can be one of those. And that's no fun when you think you've got the right cut, and you go to stitch it and it's like too short on one side, or it's crooked, or it's hanging funny. So it's best to, in this case, be a little overcautious. That's my OCD, overcautious designs. And that's not a bad thing. Oh, I forgot to take the pins out of this. Or at least there's one hanging out here. Where are you at? I see metal, but I can't see the tip. There's that part. Where's the end of it? Must be on the outside. Oh, and then I have to do the shoulder seam. I almost forgot. I just saw the rise and I go, wait a minute, got another one. And of course around the top of the arm has to be cut off as well. Did I do that on this one? I just thought of that. I don't know that I did. Oh yeah, I did. Yes, I did. I just haven't stitched it. I better stitch that. That way this one side will be done. Never got to stitch the arm or the sleeve. Oh, let me take care of that right now. That'll even make it look better on there, on the inside. There you go. So I knew there was something I was forgetting. See, it starts to slide around, so you gotta reposition. And there we go. Where we stop? Nobody knows. Now I'm not pulling it through, I'm guiding it through because some of these stitches are getting snagged up. In that respect. There we go. So I got the top of the sleeve done. I have a feeling this gentleman is probably trying to message me like, is my shirt done yet? Now there is a little trick. I'm not going to do it with this shirt, but I'm going to tell you about it. That if after all of that, and you see a little, maybe a little pucker somewhere, especially on cotton fabric, you can understitch it. And one of those ways to understitch and smooth it out is do a quilting term called stitch in the ditch. And what you do is you put this on your free arm and you put your stitch, and you got to take your time and be real precise and put your stitches right in the seam, literally right in that channel. And what that forces it to do is to lay flat. But this one's not going to need that. Yeah, this looks really good. I think you'll be pleased. I really do. I'm my worst critic, and if I'm pleased with the end result, it's all good. I don't know if any of you guys are like that, but now that one side is completely done, and all I have to do is trim the other side and finish it off. But when this is finished, and I've got all the serging done, and I just did the shoulder inside, and it actually helped it to lay flatter. This is going to be one very nice 56 made to a 44 project. And then all of you guys, isn't that beautiful? Look at this shirt. I can see why he loves it. Did you like this one? I know it's a little advanced, but I did it in a way, I come up with some of these methods of my own to help beginners feel like they did something really difficult. And you really are. When you can take a shirt and not take it apart to make it smaller, like I kind of just figured out how to do over the years, it makes you feel more confident in your ability to be able to do this and to do anything. Like now, if you tackle something like this, and it's, first of all, it's knit. Second of all, you're making it a ton smaller, which is 1.5 feet, and you did it without taking it apart. For those of you who have been doing that, taking it apart, you're doing it the right way. I did it my way. My name's not Frankie. Although sometimes I wonder. But this is the Sew What Seamstress way of, this is how I save time. Because I like to keep taking projects. I've got another one coming tomorrow. And I can't even get to my wedding gown that I want to embellish. But that's a good thing, right? Did you like any of it? If you did, if there's anything you don't really kind of get or understand that you would like to be clarified or made more clear, or maybe a mini kind of video on just one facet of what I did, comment to me and I'll do it for you. Because I know that there was a lot of information, and this is through the span of, what, 2 different videos? There's a third one. It's kind of like an in-between. kind of wet your whistle with. But share. If you know someone who's been wanting to do something like this and they can't get their, wrap their brain around it, it took me a while, share my video to them. Say, hey, look at this chick. She does it, and she made it look so easy. Yeah, I don't call mine so easy because there's someone who's already started it. They didn't steal it, they just used it first. But your Sew to Wet Seamstress is here for any questions you might have. I don't care what they are. Because as I've always said, I love a challenge. And that's not a fib. And that's why I do take my time on something that could have taken just a couple of hours. But I examine it, I measure, I remeasure, because I want one stop, one fitting, and one happy customer. That's my motto, by the way. And that's why I say, me? How about you? Are you going to keep on sewing? I hope so. Like, share. Hey, subscribe to my channel. I got more coming. You have no idea what's up here. Aren't you curious? Then tell me if you're curious. I don't care. But let's do it together.